I shoplifted at the grocery store out of sheer hunger and desperation. I hadn't eaten anything in 3 days except for some crackers I found in my backpack from last week. My bank account was completely empty, my credit cards were maxed out, and I had $12 in cash that needed to last until my paycheck came in 4 days. I'm 22 and work part-time at a coffee shop while going to community college. My parents cut me off financially when I changed my major from business to art, saying they wouldn't support my useless dreams. My roommate moved out last month without paying her share of rent, leaving me scrambling to cover everything alone. I walked into the grocery store on Tuesday afternoon just to get warm and maybe drink some free samples. But when I saw the rotisserie chickens spinning behind the glass, my stomach started growling so loud I was embarrassed. I couldn't remember the last time I'd eaten real food. I grabbed a basket and walked around like I was shopping, picking up items and putting them back. I kept circling back to the deli section, staring at those chickens like they were made of gold. They were marked down to $6 each because it was late in the day. I had the money, but if I spent it on food, I wouldn't have gas money to get to work the rest of the week. Without work, I definitely couldn't pay rent. It felt like an impossible choice. That's when I saw the security guard walk toward the front of the store. Without thinking, I grabbed the smallest chicken, shoved it in my backpack, and headed for the exit. My hands were shaking and my heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. I made it about 10 steps past the door when someone grabbed my shoulder. It was Jake, the assistant manager who I'd seen around but never talked to. He looked maybe 30 with kind eyes and a tired expression. "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" he said quietly. My face went completely red and I started crying right there in the parking lot. I pulled the chicken out of my bag and handed it to him while apologizing over and over. I told him I knew it was wrong, but I was so hungry I couldn't think straight. Jake looked at the chicken, then at me, then back at the chicken. Instead of calling the police like I expected, he said, "When's the last time you ate?" I told him about the crackers and how I'd been living on water and the free mints at the bank for days. He stood there for a minute just looking at me with this concerned expression. "Come on," he said, walking back toward the store. "Let's fix this." I thought he was taking me to the office to wait for the cops. Instead, he led me to the deli counter and bought the chicken himself. Then he grabbed a loaf of bread, some peanut butter, and a gallon of milk. "This should get you through the next few days," he said, handing me the bags. I started crying again and tried to refuse, but he wouldn't hear it. He said he'd been in similar situations when he was younger and knew how pride could make things worse. Then he did something that completely shocked me. He offered me a part-time job in the deli department, 25 hours a week at $15 an hour. Plus, I could take home the marked-down food at the end of each shift. I started working there 2 days later. Jake became like a big brother to me, always making sure I ate during my breaks and helping me budget my money better. He never told anyone about the shoplifting incident. 6 months later, I was able to move into a studio apartment and actually had savings for the first time in my adult life. The deli job paid better than the coffee shop and gave me more stable hours. Last week, Jake got promoted to store manager. At his celebration dinner, he pulled me aside and said hiring me was one of the best decisions he'd ever made. He said I'd gone from being someone who stole food to someone who helped feed the whole neighborhood. I still work there now, 2 years later. And every time I see someone looking hungry or desperate in the store, I remember what it felt like to be so desperate I'd risk everything for a $6 chicken.